Good morning. This is Roseanne with the Afterlife Communications, A Promise Kept podcast. It is January 16, 2023, and today's guest is Martha. Hi, Martha. Many blessings and welcome.
Hi, Roseanne. Thank you for having me on.
Now, how did you first learn about ITC, Instrumental Trance Communication, the ability to talk to our loved ones through our electronic devices?
So really, probably in detail through you. I know that was something that you were very interested in time. And then I guess it was, a couple of years ago that you really started to get more involved with it after some of your own personal loss. And so I've just been really interested in learning about it and hearing more about the things that you're doing with it and what the benefits are to using it to heal. So it's just a really, really interesting process.
Okay. You did not. You really didn't need to communicate with a loved one on the other side. You needed to communicate with the loved one that was in an accident in the hospital and unable to communicate with you.
Right.
There were two separate conversations while your loved one was in the hospital. Would you mind talking a little bit about your recording sessions, please?
Yeah, so, it was because we couldn't communicate with our relative. We tried some things there in the hospital and, just were unsuccessful. She didn't have the ability to talk, so that really hindered anything that we tried to communicate on. So, that's when I came to you to see if there was anything that, we could learn, obtain, to maybe help her, just, to know that, she was being properly cared for. So, so I know that I think in our first session, I came up with some questions, that I wanted to know, was she being cared for? Was there anything that she needed from us? And so I know, I guess some of the feedback that we got back just totally, not, what she could, we could learn. But I guess, we uncovered that, she was having problems with the breathing tube from the respirator. I think it was, I don't know if it was something with the infection, Roseanne, or, something that they with that tube. So, that was something that we were informed of, and that, there were, she had some sutures and things like that from the accident. And so, she had really dry skin and was just needing, some moisturizer for those areas just to kind of help soothe them. And then one of the things too that, kind of took me by surprise a little bit, and, and I'll talk about, the experience in a second, was that, somebody that was caring for her in the hospital wasn't properly changing their gloves. And so, being a hospital worker myself, you're taught, from the get-go, the importance of washing hands, cross-contamination and things like that. So, in my mind, I'm like, well, somebody, they should know better, right?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And, actually, the validation on that was, kind of the last week that we were with her, we saw that caretaker, and it just dawned on me based off of the reading that we had, where that was coming from. This particular caretaker, he was great. I couldn't speak more highly, but, as I watched, his process and what he was doing, you could tell he probably wasn't as concerned about cross-contamination and, things like that.
Very interesting. Yeah.
It was, it just kind of took me back because,
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to say anything, to the person, but, so I could tell, that was, it was just amazing, that came through in our reading, and then that kind of a validation, not long after that. So, and then, of course, talking, with my sister-in-law later, just hearing obviously some of the things that the nurse wasn't allowed to share with me because she was not my immediate, relative, just kind of validated more about, like the breathing tube and things like that. And then I think we had another conversation after that. I wanted to know, was she going to stay with us? Was she going to, pull through? I know that those were definitely some questions because she was in the hospital for 3 months. So, there was definitely a time that was coming, to better understand, is she going to, pull through, or, is this state that she was in going to be the permanent, state? And so, I know we talked more about that, and so I guess in the reading through, to get her Bible ready, she was a very spiritual, religious woman, went to church, and that she was just 2 heartbeats from heaven. So that was just, giving us, operation to be able to know that she wasn't going to stay with us. Her husband had already crossed over, and, they were very much in love all the way through the end, and she cared for him greatly, just in love, but also just in the things that, she would do for him, doctor's appointments, things like that. So when we did learn that her lungs were never going to fully recover, it was, the decision was made by family to let her go peacefully, and she did, and it was not a prolonged process, thankfully. I don't believe that she was suffering, but it was really just 2 hours after removing the breathing device from her that she passed away peacefully. So, so that was just interesting, in that reading to hear that, just, 2 heartbeats away. So it was, I don't know, it's just amazing,
Yeah, quite wonderful, actually. I mean,
yeah.
I know when we were together, we were, quite amazed by the information we received.
Right.
Now, how did this experience help you the most, do you think?
Well, for me, just, even though as a family we're talking about it and, what the doctors and the nurses were saying, there's still that element of grief, and trying to understand, why, these things happen. And so I think, I was not willing to let go of her fighting and recovering. So hearing that second reading for me was just a way to understand that this is natural, that this is okay, that it's her choice. Really, in the end, and that it'll be okay, and knowing that we could still communicate with our loved ones even when they're gone, just brings peace. It definitely, it's a way to help, I think.
It's definitely healing for sure.
Right.
Now, would you recommend this service to others?
Yes. Yeah, especially because grief can be so lasting. Whether it's just losing somebody that we're close to, or naturally, or even in a way that doesn't make sense, tragically. I would certainly recommend this because of just that healing energy that it brings with it, knowing that be okay in the end. Everything is going to work itself out the way that it was intended to. But definitely those worldly emotions can be difficult. So I think this is a very healing process to help us. So I would definitely recommend it.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Martha. It was my pleasure and honor to be with you today. If you would like to contact me for a session or a workshop, please go to my website, www.spiritrecordings.com, and email me at itcroseanne@gmail.com. Thank you from me and my spirit partners.